Let's go deep on Shinjuku. Hello, and welcome to Table Scraps. I am your host, Ben Mandelker. Today, I will be doing a deep dive on Shinjuku, a 2024 game that I think you're going to want to take a look at if you can find it. That's the teaser. Before I get into that, please welcome my guest today, someone who's extraordinarily adorable and lovely, and I just am so fond of them. Please welcome to the show, Tag Team. Hi, Tag Team. It's so lovely to meet a great little two-player game. I have just been wanting to play you over and over and over again. Well, the time to go to the bathroom would have been before we started this review, but now cameras are rolling, so. Before I start this review, I would be remiss if I didn't implore you all to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I really appreciate it a lot. It helps the channel grow. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. There's a bell down there. Hit that too. Leave a comment. Do whatever. Share it. I don't care. But engage in some way so that way the almighty algorithm will show me some love. That's all I really need right now is just some love. Thank you so much. Thank you. Shinjuku is a 2024 game. It's a pick up deliver, route building, all that good stuff. It was not on my radar. I found out about this because I was listening to the Shut Up and Sit Down podcast, and they were talking about a game called Minecart Town, which involved a lot of sheep, which has nothing to do with any of this, but I just like to point that out. And so then I decided to research Minecart Town, and Minecart Town brought me to Jay Bernardo's channel, Cardboard East. And on that channel, he talked extensively about Shinjuku and how it was, I think, his game of the year for 2024. He loves it. And I thought, I got to look into this because I love route building. I love pick up and deliver. I love cities. I love subways. I'm always looking for the next great subway game. I've never been to Japan, but I think I would love Japan. I would like to go to Japan. This is sort of like a nice first step towards Japan. So, I mean, what could go wrong? And there's also Godzilla. So, hey, this is fun, right? Here's the thing with Shinjuku. It's basically impossible to find. The game had a limited run only, I think, in Japan and Italy. And you can't find it anywhere. Like nowhere. I just actually looked on BGG today. It's not in the geek market at all. You have to do some serious digging. I was fortunate in that I had spent like a year keeping an eye out for it. And then I happened to go onto the page and there was a brand new copy just sitting there on the geek market. And I was like, I'm going to buy that right now. Thank you very much. So I am aware that this game is not available, but I am hopeful that it will become available soon. And I just want to help get the word out about it because I think it's really good. So let's dive into what exactly is this game. First of all, it was designed by Gary Kazmarczyk. I apologize, Gary. Let's just say Gary K. Don't judge me, Tag Team. Just don't. In Shinjuku, players are building shops and subway lines across Tokyo, and this is all in hopes of attracting as many customers to their businesses as possible. It's a midweight game that takes about 90 minutes or so and mixes together network building, card play, pick up and deliver, and this is the big twist. Mancala. That's right. It's pick up and deliver with Mancala. It actually makes the most sense. I don't know why we've never done this before. I know you're like, what are you talking about? So let me give you a quick 2-minute overview. If you don't like rules explanations, just fast forward till it's done. I will not be mad at you. Broad strokes of Shinjuku. On your turn, you can do 2 different actions. You can open up a shop, you can expand your rail network, you can take income, you can move passengers, or you can upgrade a department store. To open a shop, play a card that matches the district you want to build in. So for instance, you would play the Shibuya card to build in Yoyogi. There are also 4 different types of shops to choose from. There's a food shop, a clothing shop, books, electronics, and you can put out whichever one you want on either a circle or a square. Another thing you can do is expand your network. So you can place 1 or 2 pieces anywhere on the board, and they just have to be connected to each other, but they don't have to be connected to the larger network. That takes us to our next action, which is the income action. And that just lets you draw up to 4 cards in your hand. And if you're actually at 4 cards, you can draw 1 card, which is nice. You're not like stuck by a hand limit. We also have customers. There are 4 types of customers, and they all match 4 types of shops. To move customers, discard a card that matches their location and then grab all of them in your hand. Choose any station in the ward to start movement, and then just travel along the network as far as you want with your customers. Along the way, you have to drop off customers on matching businesses, even if they're not yours. Also, if you use someone else's tracks, they get a free income action, which is super helpful because, as you see, cards fuel everything. The last thing you can do is upgrade a shop to a department store. And this is really good because a department store takes any customer regardless of their demand. Every turn we draw new shoppers from a bag, and they are eventually going to wind up on the map. And when that bag empties out, the game essentially ends. The only thing we score at the end are sets of customers we've collected. That's it. There are 2 optional modules to add onto this game, and trust me, you need to play with both of them all the time. First, there's Godzilla. Wherever he is, the railways and the stations do not operate. And more importantly, whenever he enters a district, he scares all the shoppers into an adjacent space. There's also the CEO module, and your CEO rides around in a limo. Wherever that limo is, cards from that ward become wild cards. So it just sort of helps you with flexibility. That's it. Build rails, build shops, upgrade department stores, move passengers, and refill your hand. Really simple rule set. Well, I hope you all followed that. I think that somehow that wound up being longer than my speakeasy rules explanation, which is crazy because speakeasy has literally 45 times more rules. But I don't know, I guess you just fill the space. It's like a liquid. You just fill the space that you're poured into. So let's talk about my favorite parts about Shinjuku. First of all, I love the dynamic board state. I love any game where the board builds and develops based purely on player decisions. One person decides to build a shop in this district in the Northwest. That's going to motivate someone else to maybe build a rail line adjacent to that shop, so that way they'll need to use it. Everyone is piggybacking off of everyone else's actions in this game, and that creates a board that's always changing from game to game. And it changes based off of everyone's whims. And I just love it. I love when a game does that. So you've got kind of 3 major things going on here. If I build a shop, that's going to motivate someone else to build tracks. And once there's tracks in place, that's probably going to motivate someone else to build another shop. And these shops and tracks are going to spring up all over the map. And eventually that is going to motivate someone to pick up a bunch of customers and send them along their way. And really what you're trying to do is you're trying to insert your subway tracks in someone else's highly profitable route, or inversely, you're trying to insert your shops onto someone else's highly used subway route. So you're trying to leech customers or leech income actions from other people doing things. And this just creates a board state that's constantly in flux and constantly developing. I really love that about this game. Many people have called this a light Splotter because there are shared incentives, there's logistics, there's infrastructure that you're building, sort of reminiscent of Roads and Boats, sort of reminiscent of Bus. I've never played Bus, so I can't speak totally authoritatively on that. But again, you have cards that limit what you can do. I think if this were to go full Splotter, there'd be no cards. It would just be like, hey, someone built over there, you take advantage of it, you go in and start doing what you need to do. Also, this game, for such a simple rule set, it actually has a very good amount of depth. You are balancing all sorts of priorities at all times. You're trying to figure out what you think is going to matter to someone else. And you're also really trying to weigh a lot of urgent choices. Do you take the cluster of passengers that's just sitting there waiting to take the subway, knowing that you could wind up collecting 1 or 2 or even 3 customers from your shops? Or do you let it ride and think to yourself, well, I really need an electronics customer for my set collection. So instead of picking up those customers, I'm just going to build an electronics shop here because I don't want someone else to take that spot. It's perfect. It's on this train line. I have the card. If I don't do it now, I don't get a chance. But you build the electronics shop and then someone picks up those customers and takes the electronics customer off to some other distant land, or just swallows them up entirely in their department store. So you have to weigh these things because everything is so fleeting and you just don't have time to flinch, but you need to do all the things. You need to build the rails. You need to build the shops. You need to transport the customers. And the order in which you do it and how and when and where are all very interesting and pressing considerations. That's probably my favorite part of this game is how many things there are to think about from a truly simple rule set. Again, all you're doing in this game is you're building tracks, you're putting down shops, you're upgrading shops, and you're moving people. And there is the income action, but if you do it correctly, you'll never have to take an income action because people will always be using your train lines. So it's so simple. I mean, it's almost as simple as Ticket to Ride, honestly. But it has a lot more depth than Ticket to Ride. It has that urgency that Ticket to Ride has. Ticket to Ride, you want to lock down a route before someone else does. So it has that, but then it has more layers in that, which is good. I mean, no shade to Ticket to Ride. It's a perfectly fun game, but this is meatier. And to that effect, this is a definite solid mid-weight economic game. Well, is it economic? Because there's no money. It feels economic. The theming is economic. Let me rephrase it. This is a solid mid-weight pick up and deliver route building game. Sometimes for these sort of games, you're going into really heavy territory. And this one, it's a nice 60 to 90 minute game. You get these really fun, chunky decisions, great table interaction, and it's done pretty quickly. It's breezy, it's quick, easy to learn, easy to play. You go through it and it's done. So that's a really big value add. And especially if you are someone who is looking to play games with your family, this is a game that I think actually could translate pretty well to all ages and skill levels. I mean, if you can play Ticket to Ride, you can play this game for sure. In fact, I would never play Ticket to Ride again if I had this game, to be honest. Here's another thing. Why has no one, at least to my recollection or awareness, I'm open to be corrected in the comments below, why has no one ever used a Mancala mechanism to express thematically subway movement? It makes so much sense. You pick up a group of customers, that's like people getting onto the subway all at a station, and you drop them off at the various places as they go, which is people getting off the subway. It actually is such a perfect union of mechanic and theme. It's great. It's such a clean, pure marriage of theme and mechanic that I can't help but adore it here. I also love the thematic nature of this game of showing how kind of a city builds. You need to build commercial areas, but you also need to build transport to get people there. I like that as people use the subways in this game, you get commercial areas, businesses pop up on existing infrastructure. That's thematic, that's rich. It tells a story, but it's also very real. And it goes the other way around. Businesses pop up, infrastructure needs to serve it. So it's this symbiotic relationship between transportation and commerce. And I love the way that this game presents it. It's fun to play with, it's fun to see, and it's fun to watch your board fill up with these buildings of different heights. My favorite thing, I love a city builder that looks like a city. And when those department stores come in and you got tall buildings and you got small buildings, I love that. If anything, I wish our simple shops looked a little bit more like shops. Like the department stores look like tall buildings. They have a nice shape, but the shops just sort of look like pieces, not buildings. So that's not even a quibble. That's just a preference that my own weird thing of I just love a city that looks like a city, Speaking of shops versus department stores, this is a really cool design choice. So you are racing to build department stores for a few reasons. As you build department stores, you can get some tokens that are kind of like wilds that fill out your set collection at the end of the game. And that's very important and cool and nice, etc. But department stores also swallow up any passengers that comes by. So it doesn't matter what passenger is traveling, it's going to collect one. So you really want those passengers. It's really important to get those department stores up. So obviously you're going to try to race for department stores, but there's also value in the little shops too. This is surprising because if you put a little shop strategically close to the department stores, what happens is with certain routes, the people who own the department stores are always going to be sending stuff to the department stores. And then your little shop just leeches off like one customer the entire time. I built a little, I assume it was a restaurant. Maybe it was a supermarket, but I built a little food shop right near a giant department store. And I swear, I just kept on getting food token after food token after food token after food token. It was great. And I remember when I put it down, I was like, oh my God, why did I put it there? Why did I not take the square? That was so stupid of me. I should have taken the square and now I can't upgrade it. But then it turned out to be this totally lucrative little shop that everyone loved going to. It was like the Whole Foods of Tokyo. Oh, and another really cool design choice is that the distribution of customers is very different. So the category that has the most tokens are food customers. The category that has the fewest are electronics customers. But fascinatingly, almost all the electronics customers are gold customers. And gold customers count as double, which means that when you're doing your set collection at the end, a single gold customer counts for 2 different sets, whereas the white customers only count for 1 set. So there are fewer electronics customers, but when you do get them, they tend to be very valuable for your set collection. So, and then the other sets sort of like are a mix in between. So I won't get into it, but the point is, it's not just like there's, 20 food, 20 book, 20 fashion, 20 electronics. There's actually some thought into the distribution of these tokens. And that creates urgency too. When you see there's only one food customer that's gold. There's only one food customer that's worth 2. So when that customer comes out, you're going to want to scramble for it. That's the only one. I like that. Just like a small little wrinkles that just add some layers of decision making to the game. Anytime designers can do that, can add just layers in. It's like making a soup. Just layer in those seasonings. Then that's great without adding much complexity. Just small, subtle design choices that can elevate something. So I really appreciate that. Let's talk about that set building. So interesting that the designer decided to make the only thing that matters at the end of the game the passengers you collect. I love the simplicity of that. And it also creates really tough choices because you'll sometimes see that there's a whole bunch of customers you want to pick up and take somewhere, and you can get a whole bunch of tokens, but you're like, oh, but I need that one customer who's interested in books. That customer wants to go to a bookshop, so I have to take them, and you're like, I have to do it for my sets. So I do love that trade-off that pops up quite a bit, or often because it's so important to fill out your sets, because you get way more points if you have a set of all 4 customers than you do if you just get like a few, a whole bunch of food customers, a whole bunch of book customers. Sometimes you really want to build something, but there's only one book customer available. You have to go for it, especially if it's later in the game and you really are paying attention to that set collection. So I think it's actually a smart choice. It's not a very flashy choice to score the game. It's pure set collection. I actually generally hate set collection. I find it to be one of the most dull things you can do in a game. But I think it works very well here, and I think it serves the intensity of the game. But that being said, it also definitely keeps this game sort of like in a midweight space, which totally is fine. I can also see this as being a tremendous skeleton for a heavier experience. I don't know what that would be. I'm not a game designer, and it's not fair to critique a game for what it's not. And this isn't a critique. It's more like, ooh, let's turn this into a system maybe. Let's do some more maps. Let's find a way to build this out. Or let's just take the Shinjuku model and actually have real currency coming through. I know that would probably make the game fiddlier and slower because you're probably counting routes, whatever. I guess this is just me taking it to an 18xx place. What can I say? I can't help myself. But I do feel like this is the skeleton for something that could be even richer and deeper. I don't know what it is, but let's start exploring. You are constricted or restricted by the cards in your hand, which is tough. But there are workarounds. You can always play, I think, is it 2 cards or is it 3 cards? There's a certain number of cards you can play, and that becomes a wild. So if you really want to build in the Shinjuku ward and you don't have that card, you can just burn 2 or 3 cards instead. So there's that. The CEO also gives you flexibility. And also, anytime you build a shop on the map, the ward that shop exists in, that turns all cards from that ward into wild cards. So what that really means is I build a shop in Taito, let's say. Anytime I play a Taito card, I can have that stand in for any ward because I have a shop in Taito. So there's ways to work around the restrictions of the cards. And it's kind of like brass. This is not a new thing to have your actions dictated by the cards. And in some ways it's good because otherwise it just would be kind of like a free for all. So there's something that you have to sort of work with. And to that effect, every turn you draw a card and there's a queue of cards on the board and you can always see what cards are coming down the pike. And what it also means is that when it's your turn, you always know exactly what your next card will be at the start of your next turn because you can see the queue. And it's always, you can calculate on the queue what card is coming to you next and you can use that to your advantage. It's really, really helpful. So limitations, yes, but workarounds also, yes. So I think the fact that there are cards means that sometimes you want to take advantage of someone else's activity and you really can't, and you have to weigh whether or not it's important for you to spend a bunch of cards to do a wild card action. That's a clever choice, but it also means that a lot of times you will wind up kind of doing something that you didn't really want to do. A lot of times that makes people feel bummed out. A lot of times people will be like, oh, I really wanted to do this one thing, but I don't have the card for it, so I have to do this other thing instead. So I understand why emotionally when you play the game, that's sort of a bummer. On the flip side, almost everything you do can be super helpful. A lot of times you put down, you're like, I guess I'll build a track there, and you're like, ugh, I guess I had to do that. And then it turns out to be the most profitable thing you did. Like everyone uses that track. Or there's a thing where you say, the only card I have is for this random ward and I don't want to build there, so I'm going to slough it and do something else with this card. And then you just regret not doing that thing. So this is my way of saying, like, it can feel like a bummer to feel limited by the cards and not be able to build in the areas you want to build, to fully take advantage of something in that moment. But just have faith that whatever you do can actually wind up being incredibly important down the line. Some people may complain about the fiddliness of this game. I don't think it's that fiddly, it's Mancala. You pick up pieces and you drop them off along the way, but some people are just like that, So if having pieces in a ward is like frustrating for you to pick them up and then drop them off elsewhere, I get it. Like there's no designated place like pieces must go here. They just sort of float in a district until you pick them up. And that can be unsettling to some. It doesn't really bother me, but it can definitely bother others. This is also, I want to say this is a game for people who like this sort of game. I assumed this would be a crowd pleaser, but in one of my early plays of it, I played it with someone who was not into it. And from turn one, he was complaining. He complained about everything. And I was shocked because I thought this game, everyone would like it, but he didn't like it. So, know your audience. If you're playing with people who want to play something that's a little bit more, I don't know, in the fantasy space or more in the video gamey space, this one will not be for them. But if you play with people who enjoy an economic game or a logistical game, something like that, then for sure they're going to like this one. I would say this will be for 4/5 of people. Not 4/5 of a person, but I would say 80% of people will really like this, but there will be some who will be like, where are the spaceships? And that's okay. It's just, this theme is not going to work for everyone. Another quibble is that when you do the Mancala in this game, you are allowed to pick up all the passengers, put them on the subway, and then take them off right away, where they don't even go down the railroad. Basically, you're just essentially dropping off one passenger in one business. And I don't like that rule. I don't like it. I feel like the passengers should always have to go at least one stop. I don't like that they get on and get off. I say no. Change that rule. Also, as I mentioned before, you must play with Godzilla and the CEO. Don't even play without it. You really need those. The CEO you do need to help with flexibility with wildcards, because it does suck if you really are hemmed in by your cards. So having the flexibility that the CEO brings is really useful. And Godzilla A is very fun, but Godzilla does some interesting things. Godzilla basically consolidates passengers, which means you can have a much more effective and fascinating Mancala moment when you pick up the passengers and send them down the rail line. So Godzilla is really good for that. And as I mentioned before, Godzilla, wherever Godzilla is, shuts down subway lines and train stations, which sounds like it'll be really an interesting twist, a wrench to throw into the game. It's like, oh no, I can't go the route that I wanted to. I'm gonna have to go all the way around. But actually, it's not very impactful. There are some fringe moments where Godzilla does get in the way, and it's always funny when that happens. But I wish a little bit that like Godzilla would impact the routing a bit more. I don't know how you do that without it being totally frustrating, though. I think that's why it's there. I think if you have this whole thing set up and then you can't deliver where you want to deliver because Godzilla's in the way, it's probably pretty annoying. But maybe there's a house rule. Maybe try it out where you move Godzilla at the end of the turn instead of the beginning, so you're stuck with Godzilla wherever your opponent left Godzilla. It's probably the inferior way to play. I'm sure they play tested it, but either way. But you still should play with Godzilla because consolidating the passengers all together is really, really it's fun and it's useful, and it just augments the gameplay. So where do I land on Shinjuku? I really enjoyed this game a lot. I think it's a really, really clever, smart, streamlined, elegant pick up and deliver route building game. There's a huge amount of interaction. You're constantly trying to figure out what other people are doing. You're monitoring what other people are doing. There's a lot of table talk, a lot of discussion. I have found, again, that almost everyone I've played it with has really enjoyed it, with the exception of maybe one or two people. So I would say it's largely a crowd pleaser. It is also midweight. So if you're looking for something chunkier to dive into, like, this won't be the game for that. This is just a midweight 60 to 90 minute, logistics game. And in that space, it's really great. I really like it a lot. I hope it becomes more readily available. I bought mine off of the BGG Geek Marketplace. I was lucky. I'd been looking for it for months, and I happened to go on and someone was selling a copy, and there it was. There are two editions. There's like an Italian edition and there's a Japanese edition. I got the Italian edition, which is, I think, got a little bit of a cleaner graphic design. And I'm hoping that there's more editions that come out soon. So I think if this sounds appealing to you, you should absolutely get it. It's been a delightful discovery for me. I do feel like it has lived up to the hype that I read about it. I don't think it was my best game of 2024, but I think it's a really, really fun one. Can play it with many people, lots of interaction, a lot of dynamic things happening on the board. This is the sort of game that you can kind of return to over and over and over again and try different things. So lovely game. If you find it, definitely check it out. Did you have anything to add to that, tag team? You fell asleep. Wow. You know you're on camera, right? Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. Please remember to subscribe to this channel, to like this video, to leave a comment. Have you played this game? What games are like this that you have played? I love hearing about these kind of games. Just send them all my way. I want to play them all. Give me the recommendations, and I will talk to you all on the next Table Scraps. Bye, everyone.